jump in front of one. You said
Oh,
that you said that last time, and this time
what
I'm
did we
wearing a
say last
t-shirt.
time?
I'm wearing a t-shirt. You said I looked like I was in Denver because I had a hat on. Now
A
you don't like
Denver? Denver?
In Denver.
Denver
He had his tie-dye on.
In a Denver.
in
Oh.
Denver.
In a Denver. All right. You want me to play some intro music?
Yeah.
That is not the intro music.
Like it. A little smooth jazz to begin.
How about this? All right, here we go. Welcome to the cluster. Let's do it again. Welcome to the Cluster Podcast. We are here tonight. I got Nico Gualdoni, Alan Montgomery, and I got Jordan, who's going to be our expert on rifles, and particularly the new rifle season that's allowed here in Illinois. So, Jordan, you went last weekend, did you not?
I went last weekend, yes.
Did you take a rifle?
I did not take a rifle. I do not have a rifle. I mean, I do. I do not have
listen to this guy.
I do not have a straight-walled rifle, which is now legal to hunt with in Illinois, among other states. But new for 2023, you can now hunt with straight-wall cartridges in Illinois.
So what is that?
Yeah, well, I mean, so we've got bottleneck cartridges and we've got straight-walled cartridges. Are both not available in Illinois, or is it just the straight-walled?
You can only hunt straight-wall cartridges in Illinois. So the difference between a bottleneck and a straight-wall cartridge, I don't
You're
have
already
one.
wrong.
What's that?
I'm pretty sure you're already wrong.
I might be.
No, you need to go on the IDR website. You want me to share the screen with you?
Please share the screen.
Okay. Let me share the rules with you. Because my research today tells me that it's one or the other. Or, I mean, you can hunt bottleneck or straight-walled, but it seems to me that the straight-walled, there's more availability. I guess the bottleneck, you've got to be – there's fewer options out there, but let me get this on here real quick. We don't want to tell the people totally wrong right off the bat, do we?
I know most bottleneck rifle cartridges are not legal in Illinois. All of your standard rounds, your 308s, your, any of the magnums, anything like that is going to be illegal to use in Illinois. For the most part, it is just the straight wall cartridges.
So here's the FAQs on IDNR's website. You can see this, right?
I can see it.
Okay, good. So effective this year, bottleneck centerfire cartridge, 30 cal or larger, 1.4 inches or straight walled, like you said, 30 cal or larger. But they've also got.
So I think your length there is going to be.
Yeah.
That's going to be what restricts you. So most rifle, if you think about what a rifle, what a bottleneck cartridge looks like, 1 2/5 inches. I mean, you're talking about a very, very, very small round.
It kind of bothers me too that they say 1 2/5. Like, do people refer to that? Is that a normal? Can we not just say 1.4 inches or 1 2/5? Like, why do we have to call that as 2/5? It's kind of weird, but
I think what you'll find.
There you go.
When you look up that's very small, but I can read it. When you look at the cartridges here, most of them are not standard like guns that like most people have. I think the most popular gun that's going to come out of this is going to be like the 350 Legend, which was released just a few years ago, essentially to create. Winchester tried to create the best straight walled gun that you can hunt with in these states that have passed these laws. So the 350 Legend is the most popular. There's the 300 Blackout. I believe there's the 400 or 450 Bushmaster should be on there as well.
Is the 300 AAC Blackout, is that the same thing as 300 Blackout?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, that's got it listed here as a bottleneck cartridge. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's because those are, and I could be wrong, but I don't want to speak incorrectly, but a lot of these
It
rounds
wouldn't
are
be the first time. You're all
it
right.
would not. A lot of these rounds are either old revolver rounds that you either are essentially creating a custom gun for, um, lengthening the barrel, and you're shooting a revolver round basically out of a rifle barrel, um, or like the 350, the four or the 300, 350 Legend, the 450 Bushmaster. Those are going to be more the standard rounds you use.
So can you see this picture here of all the different rounds that I've
Yeah,
got on
your
here?
bottleneck rounds.
Yeah, so this is on IDNR's website. Actually, you can find it kind of where we were at under the FAQs, and they've got a
Mhm.
pretty good breakdown of all the different rounds and stuff. So anything we say on here that's incorrect, don't blame it on us. Just come on here and do your own research. But so where did you when did you start researching all this? Was it when you moved out west and you kind of had the availability of rifle
So,
hunting?
so ballistically, when I moved out west, that is when I started looking into ballistic. So, and just kind of figuring out, you know, what I needed to get for Western hunting. I think bottleneck rounds, like out west, you can get the biggest, best gun you can buy. You can shoot 1,000 yards. You can send a lot of energy downrange. In the Midwestern states that are whitetail hunting, the whole point of using these straight wall cartridges is to prevent you from shooting long
Yeah.
distances and putting a bunch of energy downrange. These straight wall cartridges are essentially just really old rounds that your great great grandpa was probably using. Think like 30-30, like the lever actions.
Why
Um,
is he assuming my
How
great great
far can
grandpa
you
hunted?
still effectively shoot with the straight wall cartridge, though?
it depends on which one you have. Again, I think if I was gonna go out and buy a gun tomorrow, I'm probably gonna buy a 350 Legend. And no matter what you do, your effective range, you're not going to be able to shoot much more than 200 yards, with a straight wall cartridge. And I sent Hunter the ballistics chart for like a slug, and then the ballistics chart for like a 350 150 grain round. And you can see essentially you're doubling your range and you're doubling your energy at range, and then you're shortening your drops by half. So where a slug's going to drop 28 inches at 100 yards, and I can pull it up here if Hunter doesn't have it.
Oh, I don't have it. Unless if you send it to our email, we might be able to pull it up. But
I did send it to your email, but I can just pull it up and read them to you.
that's the best way to go. So I mean, coming from a shotgun hunting background, whenever I heard that we were bringing a rifle season in Illinois, I was instantly thinking like somebody's going to get killed. Somebody's going to get killed out here in the woods. But honestly, the more research that I've done, my kind of conclusion to it is that you might be able to actually deliver a more accurate shot, especially with the straight walled cartridges.
It's
I mean,
going to be so straight wall cartridges, when you compare them to bottleneck rounds, are much less accurate. However,
right.
when you
But
compare them
yeah,
to
slug.
slug guns, they're much more accurate. So it's kind of
Right.
that middle ground between the two.
So we're
Um,
not necessarily getting much more range out of
I
a
mean,
straight wall. I mean, you are getting more, but not like
you're doubling it depending on what you're shooting now. I mean, if you're shooting, like an 870 with a rifled slug, you're going to be able to shoot 85 to 100 yards effectively. Now, you'll find people who say, "Well, I can, with my H&R, I can shoot 200 yards," and you can accurately hit something at 200 yards, but
over
how
and over. I don't know that that's true. I
how
mean,
much energy you are sending down range
doesn't
matters
yeah,
when it
yeah,
comes to that. Because if a white-tailed deer, you need between 100 or 800 and 1,000 pounds of energy when that bullet hits that animal for the
is that true?
whatever
Or are we
caliber
calling
you're
BS
shooting.
on that? Where are you
You
getting
can
that
look
number
it up.
from?
I mean, people will debate it, but 800 to 1,000 rounds, you have to look up what is the speed at which the bullet is going to mushroom and do what it's supposed to do. So you can look it up. You can find, different people do different things, but usually you'll find it's between 800 and 1,000, you know, feet pounds energy to hit an animal. So you can get any gun to hit something at whatever range you want if you set your scope and you're shooting. You can angle up a slug gun and you could shoot and it's eventually going to come down, meaning you can hit something at 300, 400 yards. Is there enough energy to effectively kill every deer you hit? Like, that's where ethical questions get involved.
I'm gonna say yes because I'm wondering.
I know you have shot a deer from very, very far away with a slug gun, and it's definitely possible.
Yeah, that shot. So I think the longest shot I've ever taken was with the H&R 12 gauge. It was in an open field. Got lucky as can be, aimed over the top of the back, like 2 feet, and I swear you could hear the sound of the bullet traveling, and it cracked the front shoulder. But that was not the killing shot. I had to go up and finish it off on the ground, like so many of my other shots.
Right.
It's horrible.
So you can think, like you said, you had to aim. How far do you think he was?
Yeah,
150 yards?
No, I think he was like 130, and I particularly remember him coming across the field, and I think he was after a doe. And
big 8-pointer.
He wasn't a very big one. It wasn't one I would talk about very much, but in this case, I would.
So if you think about like the drop, like if you were aiming 2 feet above that deer, if you look up like the ballistics, and I have the ballistics pulled up for like 350 legend round, and this is straight from Winchester. If you have your gun zeroed, essentially from your barrel.
Zeroed at what distance?
So you can zero it at 100, and at 200 yards, you have 7 inches of drop. Right. If you zero it at the muzzle, you would have around 8.5 to 9 inches of drop. So you're talking at 200 yards, you don't have to hold above an animal. That's
with the rifle.
That is with a 350 Legend, which is a straight wall cartridge that you can hunt.
I got you.
So with a slug, when you start to look at the like the drops and the ballistics of a slug, you'll see that they're dropping, and I'm pulling up a chart here.
That's a lot.
With these Winchester slugs.
I think my gun at the time was zeroed in at like 80 to 100.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at double the drop. You're looking at over 20 inches of drop, and that's when you're zeroed in at 100. So you're talking about a slug it's way heavier, so it's going to drop way faster. But you're talking about, with these rifles, a gun that can shoot, effectively pretty flat. They're not going to shoot as flat as a 308 or a 7 mag or something. But you're talking about a gun that out to 200 yards, like with a scope, like you should be able to hold almost right on every shot that you have, unless you're at full maximum range.
Yeah.
And then where the energy comes into that, with these straight wall cartridges, you're sending, at the muzzle, a lot of these are shooting over 2,000, feet pounds at the muzzle. At 100 yards, you're hitting a deer with, I'm looking at here close to 1,300, 1,400 pounds. 200 yards, you're at 900 to 1,000. So you're hitting, a deer at 200 yards with 1,000, pounds of energy, which is more than enough to mushroom that rifle and kill that deer.
Unless you hit it in the leg like we shoot.
Unless you hit it in the leg like we shoot.
But hey, I mean, that's, you knock it down, you get within range of second shot,
That's how it always happens, though.
It really is.
You go set up, you have everything just right. You cut out shooting lanes. You're like, all right, he's going to come in right. I'm going to have it easy. And then he comes in backwards to the wind,
walking backwards.
And you have to shoot through a brush pile. And then you have to walk up to it and execute it.
That's the truth. It really is.
The other factor, when you look at the guns, like accuracy wise, they are more accurate. If you just look at MOA, like rifles are more accurate than slugs. I mean, a slug, you're essentially just shooting a musket ball down range. There's not a whole lot of
I'm looking at
aerodynamics
this
going
now.
into that.
My dad has a 12 gauge. It's either 12 or a 20 Savage. It's like the bolt action shotgun
Yeah,
that's really popular. Can
more
shoot a long ways.
yeah.
But I know, like, so the slugs that he shoots, I can't remember. I feel like they're AccuTips or something. Remington, does that sound familiar?
Yeah. You're gonna get more range with those than you do just your
But like
standard rifle
so not
slug.
even from a range perspective, but an accuracy perspective, those were the only rounds that he could find for that gun that would not be all over the place. I mean, he couldn't
Yeah.
shoot better than like a foot to 8-inch group with a different round, but then he
You
got
can
the
think about when you're shooting like ballistically, like the physics of it with a rifle round, that is coming out and that thing is spinning, right?
yeah.
And so,
It's gonna rise.
ballistically, it's just accurate. When you're talking about a slug, like no matter what, like you're talking about a lead ball. I mean, you're throwing a knuckleball essentially through the air, and it's
Ooh,
going
I
to
like
drift.
that. Tim
It's going
Wakefield.
to
Thought they
drift
make,
one way or the other. Now
thought
you can
they
buy
make
rifled.
arrows.
You can buy rifled slugs to shoot through non-rifled barrels. You can get a rifled barrel to shoot non-rifled
I
slugs.
feel like that's what I would do.
Yeah.
If I gun hunted.
This guy doesn't gun hunt, bow hunter only.
But still, the other factor is recoil. When you look at recoil of a shotgun, you're talking about essentially like 30 pounds of pressure on your shoulder. That's the same as shooting a 300 Win
I
Mag
mean,
or a
in my perspective,
large,
though, unless
high-caliber
you're a
rifle.
little kid starting out, like, when do you factor recoil in? Because that's not something
You,
that I even think about now.
it's not something you think about because you grew up hunting with a slug gun and you're used to getting your shoulder knocked off.
Well, yeah, I
If
remember
you
the
grew up
first one I
hunting if you grew up hunting with a 223 or a 243 like other rifle stakes, you would think a slug gun was insanely uncomfortable. So I
Yeah.
think
shooting a
coming
musket.
from you're just conditioned to you're used to the recoil.
I
But
think
if
that
you
Stay
shoot
hard.
in a hunting situation, though, I don't think the recoil matters as much because you're going to have adrenaline going.
That's
So
true,
you're not
too.
going to feel the recoil as much as when you
I
would
remember
normally.
the first deer that I shot,
My experience.
I was shooting a 12 gauge, and it was literally off my dad's shoulder.
Yeah.
He was the tripod, and I can't believe he did it. And I think he might have stuck a finger in the ear to keep from blowing out the eardrum. I probably still got that, though.
so when
And
you look at the
I didn't ever notice it. I was like 8 years old.
Can you
when
hunt with semi-auto shotgun?
no, they have to. Well, you can hunt with a shotgun. You can hunt with a
Right. It has to
semi-auto
be a pump.
shotgun or a pump
be a
shotgun. But
pump
with the
or
rifles, they have to be single
bolt
shot.
action.
Yeah,
Um,
so
or
like
you have
You're
to have a
getting. That's
single
what I was
shot
just gonna say.
adapter.
You're getting. I mean, you get more recoil with your pumps and your bolt actions.
Right. So
So
with a rifled power shock federal slug, the recoil energy is 30.6 pounds. I can tell you just from like looking up other rifles that's about comparable to Magnum rounds in like the highest caliber rifles. I mean, that's essentially like shooting a 300 Win Mag. Um, a 350 Legend with a 150 grain bullet, you're talking about 10.5 pounds. So you're reducing it by more than half. It's a third of the recoil. 10.5 pounds, like you won't even feel it. That is essentially no recoil. So you're shooting a gun with essentially no recoil at all. You might not notice when you're hunting deer, but when you're sighting a gun in to try to make
yeah,
the gun accurate, like recoil matters a whole lot. You're able to shoot it more. You can practice with it more.
yeah.
So
I mean,
there's a recoil factor, there's an accuracy factor, but essentially all around, like it's just it's going to be a more accurate gun with longer range and less recoil.
yeah. So I know that there's an argument out there that with the rifle you'll be able to shoot a much greater distance, but there's also the flip side as far as like crippling deer goes. There's people that are out there that are afraid there's people going to be taking 400-yard shots that are just insane, can never hit one just because they have a rifle. And then there's the other side that's like, well, they're more accurate, they deliver more energy. So I mean, which side are you on? Are you kind of are you an advocate of the rifle hunting? Do you think that it's not necessarily people going to take those extremely long shots, or do you think, I don't know, do you think, which side are you on?
I mean, I think it's similar to the crossbow argument from years ago, where I think the accuracy of the rifles, like, I think once you start talking about extending, like taking non-ethical shots, and like everything's out the window. You can do that with a slug gun as well.
Yeah, you can do that with a bow. I mean,
There's people who have slug guns now, like when
is it
the
for the deer's
H&Rs come
sake,
out.
or is it for people?
Like, I think you're going to be more accurate with the rifle, which means you're probably going to take more.
There's an argument there though too
accurate
that
shots, and you're not going to injure as many deer. But you're talking about the ethical hunter. If you're, you don't know what your neighbor's going to do, you don't know who someone down the road's going to do. If you're shooting at 250 yards, like, yeah, you're going to have a way better chance of injuring a deer. But it's the same as shooting a slug gun at 150 yards. Like, it doesn't matter.
But you think, I mean, how many hunters out there are going to take a 200-yard shot with a slug gun in comparison to when they have a rifle in their hand at 200 yards? I feel like there's a higher percentage with a rifle. But then again, I mean, 200 yards is with a rifle. I mean, that can be handled, right, with these straight wall cartridges.
You can shoot 200 yards effectively. Okay. Like, you could shoot 200 yards with enough energy to kill a deer dead in its tracks.
Yeah.
You could extend it depending on what grain of bullet you're shooting, you can extend it a little further depending on what you're hunting with. But 200 yards is kind of like the 100-yard mark, I would say, with a slug gun, where that's kind of where you're gonna have your cutoff point.
Yeah. I don't know of too many places, at least where I hunt, that you can even shoot over 200 yards anyways. I mean,
what do you think the average distance is for a whitetail in Illinois? Like, how far of a shot do you think it is?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I'll tell you this from my experience, where I have hunted this past weekend. If I had a rifle,
that's true,
I would have been able to kill my target buck multiple times, because I had him at 150, 200 yards. On the last evening, the buck was about 140 yards. I have an open sight Winchester 1300. There's no way I can shoot. I won't even shoot out to 100 yards with it in an open field with open sights. But at 140 yards, which is where I ranged him, that is well within range with a straight wall cartridge and a scope. So
yeah, I'd say the average deer that I could shoot, like the furthest distance, is, I don't know, 80 to 100 yards. But I'm in the woods 90% of the time. I don't really sit many field edges, but
I don't know if I spend enough time with my gun to shoot that far though either.
That's true. I mean, how many people are actually putting the time in, practicing,
my neighbors the day before shotgun season, right on the property line. That's usually what they're doing.
But is the day before? I mean,
their shotgun. They're shooting their shotgun 40 times along the fence.
I mean, I hear it too. Like a week before, I'll be in bow hunting the week before gun season, and you hear a lot of shooting around, just people sighting it in. But I don't know that's enough to justify that you're ready to shoot. I think we all kind of fall short of getting enough practice hours.
I hunt near a gun range anyways that's already shot one person that was over a mile away.
Okay, we got to hear this. What was the situation? Don't tell us the name of the gun range, but
that gun range over there on Skyline Drive. You don't remember that?
I do. I know what you're talking about.
When they first opened, that lady at Home Depot.
There was a lady at Home Depot that got shot.
This was on the news, Hunter. There was a lady who got ricocheted.
Yeah,
she got ricocheted. She got ricocheted, or she got hit from a ricochet?
I hit by a ricochet.
That's not
a ricochet bullet, stray bullet. And that is
a big deal. They shut the place down. It was like pistols only there.
Here's the main question.
I mean, I'm closer to that than Home Depot is. So whenever I hear somebody over there blasting away, I'm sitting in the tree. I'm thinking, well, here I go.
This could be it any moment.
That was a bottleneck, or
that's what I was going to say. Is this a slug?
From a practice standpoint, you should be able to practice more with these rifles because of the recoil. I mean, you should be able to go out there the same way you shoot a 22 in your backyard. Now it's going to kick more than a 22.
I don't shoot a 22.
It's not when I go and I sighted my slug gun. I put up a piece of paper at 80 yards.
You don't do that.
I
Let's
hit
be
it.
honest.
I hit
When
it.
was the last time you shot your slug gun?
It's been a minute.
Was it before? Did you shoot it before the season?
I did shoot it before this season. Yes, I went out to the farm. I put a box out with a paper target on it at 50 yards. Open sights, shot, hit it, and I said it's on, and that was it because it blew my shoulder.
What is the ballistic trajectory of a slug round? Because I know, like when you're shooting, when you're shooting a 223, that bullet's rising for at least the first 150 yards.
It's
put them on the spot.
If you're zeroed at 50,
right?
So at 70. Are you going to have to aim low or high?
Well, so that depends on your zero because realistically, the bullet doesn't actually like. I'm pulling one up right now, ballistic. Realistically, your bullet doesn't necessarily rise. It's just you have zeroed it at a point that your bullet is hitting higher than your zero, like your crosshairs.
Right. But if I zero my rifle at 100 yards,
right,
or 100 meters, I'm just going to speak in meters terms because in the military we
got ex-military here.
If we were shooting, so a 25 meter zero is the same as 300 meters. So when I'm shooting a 150 meter target, I'm essentially aiming in the dirt. Now that's with a 5.56 round. But I assume ballistics for bullets are going to be the same. Like how they're going to come out and rise and then drop. But
with a rifle, if you zero it at 100, you're talking about it like a 1.5 inch rise, which is really just your bullet.
Why are you air quoting rise?
Because it doesn't actually rise.
Well, what does it do?
Your bullet your bullet is always dropping. If you think of it as if you're zeroed at 100,
it's dropping at 50.
A little bit, not very much.
I
think of it like if you zero at 100 yards, that's where your bullet's hitting. Since your bullet is dropping the whole way there, even a little bit incrementally, if you drop back to 25 yards and you shoot, your bullet is going to hit above your target. It's not that the bullet's rising, it's that you zeroed it at a point that the bullet was dropping. So now when you get closer, the bullet is not dropped as far, so you're hitting the target at a higher point.
I just don't think that's right.
I'm
just saying because like I just said, when you're shooting a M4 and you have zeroed at 25 meters, at 25 meters and at 300 meters, your bullet is at the same height. So at 150 meters, you have to aim in the dirt to hit the target. So that tells me that the bullet is indeed rising. It's not dropping the entire way because I zeroed at 25 meters.
I believe that could be just the way your scope is mounted, but I would have to look in.
Hey, he's saying your gun's not sighted in now.
I'm not saying your gun's not sighted in. I'm saying your scope is above your gun. So you have to understand that you are matching your scope to two different points.
We were shooting iron sights.
Like your scope doesn't drop, right? So if you think of an arc.
Not unless you don't have it tight. If you don't have it tight to your gun, it's going to drop.
I need a piece of paper to explain this.
I've seen this with a friend before.
I'll explain it to you. I took a physics class or two.
Did you? I took some physics classes too, but I don't remember anything from them, if I'm being honest.
Can you see that curve?
Hold on. Where do you have a picture drawn? We're looking at something over here on the Google.
I have a picture drawn that I'm trying to show you. And I could be very wrong.
Yeah. Got a parabola.
What's it say? Why don't you just Google do bullets
parabola? That's what we're doing. We're working on it.
Tell me I'm wrong.
What do you want to see, Alan? Drop at 100 yards? Images? He's wanting to see some images over here. Ooh, we want to see this.
A bullet does not actually rise, and I can
Like
show you
the
why.
rise
You
off the
want to look?
grass.
You want to look?
I would believe that. I'm with you. I don't. Well, it does look like it rises on this graph.
Let me show you why.
It rise.
Okay, do you see that?
No.
Hold on.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
Put it
I
back
see
up. Put it back up.
Yep, that one.
All right.
Jordan,
see
put it
that?
back up.
So we have Tyler Johnson in the
All right. I'm gonna let me share my other screen here. Okay, Jordan. Just give me a second. This is our first podcast, everybody. So you're just gonna have to be patient. We're a little
All right.
kind of
The
rookie.
name of the
this.
podcast, the name of the first episode is "Do
It's the
Bullets Rise?"
cluster. Well, I mean, it's
What
the
grade did you get in the?
it's the cluster podcast. So
what
I
grade
mean,
did you get in this physics class?
Well, I
he didn't
graduated
go to
with a
class.
degree in it.
He's still
Yo,
taking it.
Oh,
me
he's
show
a
you.
physicist.
Tuesday.
Can I
Okay.
show you? Let me show you.
Yes. So
me
if
show you.
my muzzle is where that line starts, what is the bullet doing? That's
Your
right.
muzzle is pointed up because you have to adjust for the bullet dropping. Now, that is your, pay attention, that's your bullet. Here's the muzzle. It's pointed up because you're trying to hit a target over here. You have to essentially account for the drop. Now you're saying,
Okay.
Jordan,
I see what you're saying. with the muzzle.
you're saying at 2 points, my scope is on 2 times. So let me show you.
At two, yes. So
Your
right.
scope does not drop. It's a straight line. Ready? I'm going to show you.
Kicked him off.
All right.
Jordan,
are you ready to
can you
it?
see this diagram?
pull him back
Yep.
up.
Pull him back
Yeah,
up.
your muzzle's
Hang on.
pointed up. All right. Do you see this again?
Oh,
Let me show
see
you.
all of this.
Yes. Yes,
Please
that's
look.
what I was saying. Correct.
Do you see the straight line going across?
Correct.
That is the line of sight of your scope. It is on at those 2 points, which in your case is 25 yards and 300 yards.
Meters.
Now at
yes.
150 yards, the bullet is above those 2 points. That doesn't mean the bullet's rising. It means your muzzle is pointed up, and as the bullet flies, it hits the target here, and it hits the target here, while your scope is zeroed at the same point, because your scope goes straight across while your bullet drops. But your bullet never rises. You just have your muzzle pointed up, and the bullet hits the 2 points because it has to rise to hit a point and fall. Does that make sense?
All right. You know, Jordan, I wish I could just take your word for everything, but
I know.
we've been
but we
around you
don't.
long
I
enough
mean,
to know that there's a lot of times where you're just BSing it a little bit. I mean, I kind of believe you on this one. I think you're
makes sense. Look at it.
I mean, it was a
That
good
makes sense.
explanation, but I still want to hear
an expert.
yeah.
Yeah. We're
'Cause
not
How
saying
about
you're the
this?
expert yet. Sorry.
he's not that.
How about the NRA? Dispelling the myth of bullet rise. A bullet's trajectory is a straight line. The bullet's travel is a smooth arc towards the ground because of the effects. Hold on, let me read it here. It's from the NRA. Maybe I'm wrong.
At what distance do we have to factor in the Coriolis effect?
Well,
You just throw that term out there.
I could see what Jordan's saying though, because
Yeah, it makes sense.
if it's spinning, you're saying it's going up, but what's to stop it from going left or right the same way that it's going up?
well, it's gravity. That's
a
what
good rifle barrel, I guess.
gravity is what is pulling it down towards the earth.
Wow, he did pay attention in physics.
That is Sir
What is
Isaac Newton, 1687.
9.9.
Is that one of his 3 laws?
That's the law of gravity.
That is.
Relativity.
All right. So I don't know that any of that conversation factored into deer hunting, but
Yeah,
hey,
it's
it's good to
just-
have a good discussion to check each other's backgrounds a little bit.
Yeah, it says right here, the NRA, according to Sir Isaac Newton, you can take his word, you don't have to take mine. As soon as the bullet leaves the barrel, it begins to fall, regardless of muzzle velocity. The higher the muzzle velocity, the longer it takes gravity to significantly affect the bullet, but gravity is always affecting the bullet.
Can.
So, oh, look at this. They drew, I can't show you because I can't share my screen. Basically, what I drew here, they drew, but much better. It shows the gun pointing up. And then it shows your scope. They call it the line of sight compared.
Ooh, that's an engineering term.
compared to the line of departure.
What about the curvature of the Earth?
Well,
Maybe that's why.
That's a long shot if you
maybe-
have to
maybe-
start factoring that
Maybe
in.
that's why it seems like it rises. It's actually just going flat, but the Earth is curving
that could
down.
be.
What if
I
the
will
Earth-
say, Alan, if you were able to shoot a bullet at the perfect curvature of the Earth, you
Oh
know what
my
that is?
gosh,
You know what it is? Now we're orbiting.
dude!
We're orbiting.
This is a physics class. That's like brought up in the first day that you'd hear that brought up.
No, I know.
When did you Google that one? Like a couple hours before we got on here?
I didn't Google that, Hunter. I have. I
It's
mean,
impressive.
we
That
won't
was
get
a
into
good
How much physics are involved in
everything.
mammograms?
Mammograms.
Is that what you do
next
for a living?
next podcast. I'm gonna have it.
Next
right
question.
here. I'm gonna have it right there. That way, no one questions me again.
So I've got on here from my little bit of research today that you can actually use a couple different bottleneck rounds like the 30-06 and the 308 Winchester. Now, how would those guns stack up to, or how would those rounds stack up to some of the straight walled
You have
rounds?
in your notes that you can use those rounds.
Yes, I
I
do
do
have
not
that.
believe that is correct.
No,
A
I
30-06 would kill a deer at 600 yards.
Maybe that's not. Let's look it up.
don't think
Let's
308.
fact check
308
myself.
a 308 will kill a deer up to about 400 yards, if not farther. Those are rounds that you could use. Those are Western hunting rounds that are very popular.
I do not see that. I don't
I
see either
think
one.
I think if you pull up the IDNR chart again, you will not find a 308
Yeah,
or a 30-06 on there.
Okay, yeah. No, I did not pull that off the. I was just looking up bottleneck rounds apparently. So yeah, don't
Maybe
use
you're
those.
Don't use those.
You guys want to you guys want to do something illegal? Use the 30-06 and the 308.
A 30-06 more than enough power to kill a deer at a
That
very,
goes back
very
to what
far
Jordan
range.
was saying though about the mushroom effect. I mean, a 308 at 100 yards. I mean, you're essentially going to blow a hole through the deer that's the size of the round. You're not going to get that mushroom effect.
That's a pretty cool thing they've got on this chart though. Is
Got to get a soft point.
have you seen this? They have it outlined over here on the right side on whether it would be overkill, excellent, marginal, or light. They actually have that. I don't know who did this for the
So
state.
it depends on your round too, because if you're talking about like a copper tipped bullet, it's not going to mushroom. Like it's not going to mushroom as fast. It depends on what the tip is made of as well, because some tips are made to mushroom at slower velocities, where other tips are made to mushroom at higher velocities. So you can smile all you want, but that is true. So
You know what we're
if you
smiling
were
at.
hunting, if
Mustache
you were
walk
hunting
5
with
minutes before you
say
did.
if you were hunting with a 308 and you knew you were only going to be hunting at 100 to 200 yards, you can buy rounds
Don't do that in Illinois.
more effective at those ranges.
Why can't you use buckshot? Why do they make buckshot if you can't use it?
I think buckshot is for home intruders, Alan. You can kill them and the guy standing behind them. So
Like the single, you're only allowed a single shot rifle.
correct.
So are you not carrying a cartridge at all? You've got to leave that in the truck,
No.
or
So
you
what
don't
you
even
do?
take it with you.
No. So what you do?
You have to
You,
make it.
you can
single shot.
buy.
You have to make it to where it can't hold more than one. So
Correct. So what
Well,
you can
I-
do is
what's
you
it
buy
called?
a.
A sled that you put in your magazine. Is that what
Right.
it is?
I saw this today though on Drury
That's like
Outdoors. They had an
like a
Instagram post
shotgun for a shotgun.
where they answered back a comment, whatever round they shot, and the language is that you can only use a single shot rifle. They had on there that they didn't carry the cartridge with them, and it was nowhere near the truck. So are we saying that they might have done something wrong?
It depends on what state they're in. For one,
They're in Illinois. They were in Illinois. It's in the post.
you
Let me
cannot.
see if I can find it while you're
You
talking.
cannot have the capability to shoot more than one round. Like I don't know the lay of the law, but the safest way to do it, you can buy adapters, like Nico was saying, for your clip
What if you
that
just
either
didn't
turn your
put
that either
go in your hair?
you can
What?
buy an
Magazine.
adapter for a clip that doesn't allow it to hold rounds.
clip.
So that doesn't allow your clip to hold anything. That effectively turns your bolt action rifle into a single shot rifle. Does that make sense?
So we're saying, I don't know. If you
I don't
don't
know
have,
I don't know what the juries are up to, but the
Hold on.
problem with
Big
not
beer,
having
that's like
the problem with not having a clip in your gun is that when you unbolt that, your round can just fall out the bottom of your gun. There's nothing there. It is just a hole with a
are you
rifle.
saying that the juries are lying?
I'm
Oh,
saying
no.
they're probably just cycling around in, but there's nothing to hold that round. Like your gun is either always loaded or always completely unloaded where you have to cycle around. You can buy adapters for your clip where it will only hold one round, where you can then keep a round in your gun safely without it being chambered. And then when you're ready to shoot, you can bolt it in. That would be the route I would go. I wouldn't just not have a clip in your gun because then a game warden is just going to say, well,
of course
you
you wouldn't
just
have a clip in your gun. You would have
Well,
that in your hair.
I've researched it a little bit, and I think if you go the no magazine route,
There
that's
we go.
still illegal. Technically, you have to have the 1-round magazine in your gun.
right.
Hold on. I'm going to share this screen with you, and you tell me what you think based on this post.
Let's make it very clear. Don't make any legal decisions based on anything any of us say.
Yeah, we're rookies.
I think if you're going through the trouble of buying your rifle and you're
See
spending
this?
that much money, why not spend a little bit more and just buy the adapter that turns your magazine into a 1-round magazine?
It's kind of like going on an elk hunt without a headlamp. Why not just,
If you're looking to get
extra
into
time,
rifles
bring
in
back-
Illinois, talk to your
We
local
did not have a
DNR.
clip with us, only allowing us to have one.
All
So,
right, can you see this?
I mean, I think that's probably a gray area because you don't have a clip with you, but who's to say that you did have a clip with you and you didn't just throw it into the woods when you saw the game warden coming?
Yep, that's what.
That sounds like something you would know how to do very well.
No, he's just being the antagonist. I like it.
I
He's good
mean,
at that.
that's what I would
Well,
do.
why
I mean,
should you assume they're
it's a-
doing it wrong too? I mean, if you're the
you're a
game warden and you walk
that's what
up,
your job is.
Yeah, you don't know that. I mean, you can't.
Well, I guess what I'm saying
See-
is if you're gonna do it, why not just buy the 1-round magazine? Like,
Do
why
they
not
not
just
make
buy
these
the magazine
recyclable
that
rifles?
only holds 1 round? You can buy the adjuster that only
Still
allows
buy
it to hold 1
a
round.
action single shot rifle.
maybe because people are tired of spending money. I mean, that would be one reason.
Well, you
You
just
know?
bought a brand new rifle.
Well, nobody
they-
said it's brand new.
Did you buy one?
No, I didn't buy
You-
one. I still use my bow.
Did you buy one?
I'm gonna buy one.
I can't believe you don't already have one. I mean, what were you using? Weren't you on a rifle mule deer hunt this year?
Yeah, I'm not hunting Western game with a gun that I can only shoot 200 yards.
What rifle do you have to hunt Western game?
I have a 300 Win Mag that will blow your shoulder off, so I don't use that. I have and a 6.8 Western.
I'm looking for that cartridge or whatever makes this 6.8 Western. You did a video on that, didn't you? It's on our channel.
I did do a video on the 6.8 Western. It is also a new caliber.
It seems to get a lot of. Is that the
similar-
Creedmoor?
Well, there's a bunch of new modern rounds. The 6.5 Creedmoor, the 7.
Go into that
PRC.
battle because I constantly get YouTube comments every day from the
Says
video that you posted.
$7 to make it.
$7
Old
to
round.
not get yeah.
$7 for this magazine or what I call down.
Sled.
What's
I heard
the
Nico
correct
say
term?
Sled earlier.
I think I've heard sled before.
Oh, this guy's making
mean,
his own though.
Yeah, I mean it's just a magazine. It's the you can think of it as like a plug in a shotgun, right? So
Right. That's what I
in
mean. You
most
could just
states-
take the the
yeah, in
spring
most
out.
states
Put
you
a
can only
stick in
hunt.
there that doesn't let it compress.
Now, Alan, if you were
That's
were
free.
goose
I
hunting,
guess you're gonna get in a fight.
you duck hunt a lot. If you were duck hunting and a game warden came up to you and said, "Hey, you don't have
Run.
a plug in your gun," but your answer was, "Well, don't worry. I wasn't putting more than one shell in anyway, so
Right.
don't worry. I took
Right.
the spring out, right? Like I took the spring out, so the plug doesn't
Yeah.
work." Well, it's like why not just put a plug in your gun? In this scenario, it's just get the magazine adjuster that only allows you to hold 1 round. So
I
don't
could
give the
definitely
game
get
warden
the other
don't give the
argument.
game warden any reason to give you a ticket.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. Why cause trouble that you don't need to cause?
Exactly.
Is there any more comments on that post that anyone
On this one, I haven't looked on it a whole lot. I just saw this right before we came on here and thought it'd be something good to show. So we're saying that's still kind of a gray area. We don't really know.
I'm not a game warden, but like I would feel much more comfortable if I just had
This here.
something in the magazine that only allowed me to hold 1 round.
Yeah.
You can prove that you have a 1 round magazine. You can't prove that you didn't throw your 4 round magazine into the bushes when the game warden walked up on you.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like that argument can go a lot of different ways.
Well,
I feel like there's a lot of stuff you can prove and not prove. Well, where do we go from here?
What's your favorite beer? What's your favorite beer camp? Deer camp.
Did you say deer or beer camp?
I said beer camp.
Beer camp?
Beer camp, which is maybe what we should have named the podcast. Beer camp.
Beer camp.
Yeah, that's you don't like Clusterbuck.
Post-rut clarity.
I love
Post-rut clarity was a really good one, but we went with cluster instead.
Post-rut, yeah. Those
we might make some shirts or some stickers with that. I don't know. So you're going back out second season here. Sure, we got that in a couple of weeks. You think you're going to make one of those? You don't have the rifle yet, is that right?
I do not have one yet.
Are you going to get one between now and then? Since you just talked about how you could have.
I will have one next year. I will have a 350 Legend next year.
Next year.
So
you're not going to jump on it now.
Not going to jump on it now.
Just going to let that buck slip away.
How much ground do you got up north now?
Yeah, how many acres do you have access to up there?
Right now, so they have 87, and then I have access to another 80 directly adjacent to it. So it's 167.
Have you? I'm setting you up on this question, but have you had any trespassers or any typical Jordan encounters with individuals that aren't supposed to be there?
You already know that I have. It doesn't matter where I'm at. They're going to find me, and they do find me. So what I will say is, surprisingly enough, for the 3 days, and I hunted most. I didn't hunt all day, but I hunted most of the morning, most of the afternoon. I'd come in for lunch. I think I heard 6 shots over the entire weekend. There's no pressure up there.
Wait, you're close to Pike County, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm direct. Yeah.
How can you say there's no pressure? You're around like the most famous Illinois county.
It's kind of like hunting in Williamson County.
Yeah.
Nobody hunting there. There's nobody hunting not directly where I am. No one like there's.
I'm pretty sure I saw a guy from the lower half of Southern Illinois in front of your cell cam. So how can you say he had a tracking dog, right? And he was tracking a deer in front of your camera?
That was in Pope County. That was not in.
Oh, that was in Pope. Okay, gosh dang it! This story makes sense now. There's always something missing in the Jordan story.
No. This is what the tracking dog incident, which was one of your dad's friends.
No, well, it's funny because we leased the ground that we leased. He's right against it.
He told me.
I haven't told you. Did I tell you about the day after about that guy getting into an argument in the field, like with my dad? My dad's sitting on our lease. There's some guys that come into a property adjacent, and then there's this particular guy that you're talking about that has land right beside all of them. And these other guys come in on this green pasture, basically that butts up to our lease. And the only reason my dad's down there is he's got a picture of a big 8-pointer that we saw that morning on camera on our Tacticam. It's freaking giant. So it's like he goes down there, gets in the stand at like 11 o'clock, and the buck's hung up with like a doe in the fence row. And then he has a couple guys come in this big green pasture, couple guys that we'd never seen anybody hunt there before, and then we've got the particular guy that you're talking about. And he had his daughter set up in a 2-man stand right on the corner of these two properties.
What's his daughter look like?
It was up in that.
We're not going to go into those details. It's not appropriate for this this topic. I don't know. I haven't got a good look at her. Never looked through the binoculars at her. So, anyways, these guys get set up in the field, and my dad's sitting there for a little while. And before too long, he starts hearing this screaming, this hollering back and forth. Just like the time that you sat there, the first shotgun season, the first day you sat there, remember the guy screaming?
What did the screaming sound like?
You remember the guy that shot the deer, and then you said he was like celebrating like crazy?
Hunter, no matter where I go, there's someone trespassing on me. Like,
you know what I'm talking about, though.
We could do a whole podcast on just trespassing stories and me watching human people walk under my deer stand on private property. It's nonstop.
True. That's true. Do you remember the particular situation I'm talking about, though? You're on the lease, first shotgun season.
Yes.
The guy, what was he yelling?
I fucking got him! I got him! Like, go crazy. Like,
okay, so this is the same guy that's on your trail cam, like not too long after that this year. Okay, so I guess these other two particular hunters got too close to him, and they got into a full-blown screaming match for like 30-45 minutes, and then it finally subsided. And
I can almost guarantee you that screaming match took place probably under one of my old tree stands that might be still on the lease. That's probably right under one of them.
It was pretty close. It's not too far away. But anyways, it starts to get dark, and my dad hears 3 different shots go off, and he's like, in the back of your head as a deer hunter the whole time, you're like, okay, that was probably the deer that I just saw, this big buck that came in here. Well, later on that night, my dad and this guy have each other's phone numbers. This guy calls my dad, and he's like, he tells him his side of the story, and basically those 2 guys came up and were within distance of his daughter sitting in the stand, and he didn't like it at all. So they got in that screaming match, and I don't know what all took place there, but the 2 guys that came in there ended up shooting this giant 8. It's like 145, 150 inch 8-pointer. So the next morning my dad's coming in, and those 2 guys that came in actually came in and told my dad. They met him at the truck and told them their side of the story. So my dad got to hear both sides of the story of this screaming match basically going on, and I really don't know what to think of it all, but
we could do a whole
just crazy stuff that goes on.
Podcast. Our next podcast should be Trespassers. We'll bring your dad on. We got the footage of the geo tracker driving under my tree stand.
Yeah. And it's funny because I was looking at footage last night, old stuff that we had. It said season 4, and I don't even remember what videos those were.
Box of Rocks.
It might have been that same time frame, but you had a video of a kid that was in one of those. He's like on the edge of this green field.
Guy?
What is it? No, not the bee suit.
It wasn't the guy in the bee suit.
No, there's a kid with no hat, dark hair, a little bit taller, and he's got one of those mesh blinds, camo blinds around him.
Yes.
It was so funny watching that last night, and I was just like, this is a Jordan situation if I've ever seen one.
And you know what's crazy?
Sitting there videoing this guy.
That property where every time I went, I'd have some doofus sit out in the middle of the turnip field. Yeah. Do you know what got killed on that property this year? You saw it. You saw it on Facebook.
Last year or this year?
This year with the drop time.
I don't know that I've seen this one actually, but
you've seen it all over Facebook. Big old deer. That's the thing. Deer love to be where trespassers are. That's just.
Well, I'm not sure that it's not the other way around. I feel like the trespassers love to be where the deer are at.
Maybe.
I mean, I've stepped over a line or 2 in my day, but not lately.
I never
a little bit better of a hunter. But yeah, I took my wife over the weekend too, and we had another guy that we've seen We've seen the same guy.
Has a wife.
It's rough. It's like taking a kid hunting. I mean, I've had to really kind of slow down and have some patience, but we're sitting there and there's a lot of action going on, and suddenly we hear people talking, and that's kind of like the worst thing you can hear when you're in the middle of a 400-acre woods. When you start hearing somebody talk, right after a shot that was pretty close to us, and that talking kept getting louder and louder and louder. And before too long, I was on the phone with my dad. We've got some out-of-state guys that we may or may not like too much that hunt right up against us. And we thought it was them originally, but it turns out it was the same guy that's done it to us 3 years in a row. And he's pretty much neighbors with us, but he shot a doe about a mile away and ended up right underneath us.
Nothing like someone shooting a doe right in the
here's
middle.
a question.
And then like that just them screaming in the woods is what bothered me. It was nothing else. Like, I get it. Go get your deer.
To bring this full
Shut
circle,
up.
to bring it full circle, since we started with rifle or firearm deer season in Illinois, do you feel like, I know my answer, do you feel like these things happen more during in Illinois, for people who don't know,
Sure.
you
100%.
essentially have
There's more people out.
3 days. You have 3 days of the
How many
season.
people do you know that only
Gun
fire-
hunt
yeah,
only.
gun
The
hunt.
a lot
majority of
more.
people only
I mean,
firearm deer hunt.
one of the places I got permission, it's like you can hunt there any day you want besides 3 days in
It's-
November and 4 days in December.
It's a tradition thing. It's like you get people
deer
that don't
camp.
hunt it, and then they come out for shotgun season and they want to have deer camp. Yeah,
It's deer
like you said. So
Deer camp. I love deer camp, but
yeah,
I
there's
guess,
nothing wrong, and there's nothing wrong with that. People only getting out,
yeah.
a couple weekends of the year. I think that's great. It's just like,
I almost wonder sometimes, and what's your take on it? Like this year on the property, I didn't have archery tags, so I wasn't able to archery hunt the farm. Moving from Colorado, archery tags ridiculously expensive.
yeah, I mean, it's almost like an archery tag for an Illinois resident in Colorado.
It is
About $800. I think you
it's
can
silly.
afford it.
So I guess I
What is
noticed
it anyways? 400?
It's like
$410, and that's before your license. So I guess one thing I feel like I noticed this year is that
I think it was like
I
$40.
didn't go onto the property to bow hunt. I didn't go onto the property to bow hunt because I couldn't, but I still watched the deer. I had cameras up, and it seemed like during firearm deer season, just the deer were the large mature bucks never really went nocturnal on the farm for the most part. I mean, there was like end of October, they kind of disappeared, but
I
then
think
as
it's
soon as
almost like
November hit,
I mean, did they start out nocturnal though?
it's almost like
they did not. They did not. The beginning of like
listen to
the
me. It's
summer
almost like hunting ducks. Whenever you go, if you got one farm hunting ducks, they're all going to go sit on a different farm.
exactly.
If you got people in all those fields, which I mean, the pressure is not great for them, but it still keeps them stirred up. I feel like whenever people are in every square inch of woods in Southern Illinois, I mean,
So that's
the deer
my
get
question is we always get mad that the people who come out and shotgun hunt for 3 days kill the big mature bucks. And I guess this was the first year I have been the person who only shotgun hunted. And what I'll tell you is every day I hunted, I had mature bucks either in the field, I saw them from the stand. I was just incredibly unlucky that none of them got within gun range. But
Well, yeah,
they're
you're
still
sitting in an open field though. That's typical.
right. But
You
even
can
tonight,
see a long
like,
way.
right. But I guess the point is in recent times, those bucks would have been on the neighbor's property. And so my question is, do you think just the act of bow, and I know there's, you use the wind, but do you think that's why shotgun hunters maybe kill more deer because they're not on properties, they're not messing around? And it kind
Well,
of,
I mean, there's part of it that's they're the deer are stirred up more and they're moving around. But I mean, in my case, this weekend or this past weekend timed out to be just prime time rutting activity. I mean, it just timed out like that. It's not always like that, but it's pretty close. It's like the week before, the week after. Right now, this week, like tomorrow will be a great day to be in the stand. And I don't know that it's necessarily like, I don't know that's the hunters moving in and out. I think some of it is to do with that, but I mean, it's
I think
just
you're a bad example because you kill big deer every year, no matter what, because you're a Zeigler.
it's
and
not true. I mean,
You know where they are, and I don't know how you do it, but you know where they are.
They've
Your
got
dad
the
literally found an elk with his nose.
yeah.
Incredible feat that I'll never forget.
Yeah. I mean,
Using
he definitely has an extra sense when it comes to deer
using
hunting.
a wind checker
Yeah.
in an open area, just pup there.
I'm just gonna say, I
there.
don't think you would have found your elk this year if it wasn't for me.
If
Nico.
Zeigler wasn't there, no.
I mean,
I walked right by
We
it.
know my history with marginal shots, and I now know that if I just had a Zeigler with me every time, I would have found every deer
maybe
because you
that's
guys
it.
sniff them out. Quite
Maybe.
literally sniff them out. That's not even a figure of speech. That is literally what Charlie did to find that elk 2 years ago. Is he was like, I smell it. I don't know where
I
it's
didn't use my
coming from.
nose this time. I used my eyes. I feel like my eyesight. I've always said my eyesight's my best quality, but
It is. Your eyesight is impeccable.
thanks, Nico. Thanks for really adding that in.
Hey, hey, those bears. Remember the bears he spotted up for us, Nico?
Yeah, those were definitely cows. Now that I watched the
I
video,
know they were.
100% cows. But I mean, what do you do in this situation? You know, you got
Here-
something. Was that cow sitting on its butt at one point?
Here's what
it
I'll
looks
say
like a
before
bear.
we wrap this up.
Yeah.
If you
All
watch
right.
if you watch our elk video, which you should, you'll see
Let's
the
let
many
me
arguments me
while
and
you're
Hunter
talking,
have.
I'm gonna pull it up. We didn't argue
Pull
like
it
that
up. I'll
a couple
tell you
years
this.
ago.
Every argument we got into, I was right. All of them.
Ooh.
Every one of them.
I don't know about that.
I don't
That
know.
was a legal
Yeah,
bull.
yeah, you got 2-on-1 here. You better be careful, buddy.
Was Nico, was it a legal bull?
What are you talking about?
It was.
The bull. You said
Oh yeah, but you're
the bull might
you're
have 4 points. No, it's just a 5-inch brow tine. I was
he's
right.
already getting off. He said 5-inch brow tine in the video, so it's
4 to
already
5. Okay. Whatever. 4 to
not go
5
here.
inch brow
I
tine.
think you were both technically wrong.
We were, and I'm not afraid to admit
Maybe
that.
Jordan was a little bit closer.
He
I
was
was
closer.
a little bit closer. I was very much. I
but
was
I don't
on
think
the
that
money.
makes you right.
Yeah, exactly. I'm cool with that. That's a good. See, he's the perfect guy to bring on the trip because he's not going to side with one person or the other unless they're right. So we'll just leave it at that.
The cows, Alan Hunter was like, there are 2 black bears. And I said, those are cows. And
You
these 2
get
were
a-
like, nope, black bears. Like,
Get a
"Those are
back me
cows."
up on this one.
I still don't know about
They
that.
I still don't
convinced
either.
me that they were bears. I don't know how they did it, but I could see they were cows. And they
Well, it
convinced
looked
me
like
that they were
that one
bears.
picked up
The
the
one was
carcass.
literally sitting on its butt, picking up a carcass at one point, and we all agreed.
It was
So-
2 cows.
But looking back
cows.
at the video, editing the footage,
Yeah.
I look at it and I'm like, those are cows. So I mean, it is what it is.
Clear as
I'm not
day.
going to die on that hill. I don't really care either
Well,
way.
because you were wrong and I was right. And I feel like I never got the credit I deserved in the video.
Sounds like he's got an
That's
issue. We could tell the full story on that video if you want.
That's all right.
You're right. You don't want to show you crying in your tent. I'm trying not to get back up. Tyler knows what I'm talking about back there. We got a full house back here in the studio. We got one
I'm
guy.
telling you, after 3 days, I know what my max is because it's always day number 4 of the elk hunt. I'm like, I'm out.
I
we gotta
faced
start
my max
killing-
like 30
We got to
minutes
start
in.
killing
Jerry.
bulls.
It's a good thing you
Early.
aren't an American hero like I am.
No, gee.
Alan, can we?
Jordan was dead for a couple of hours.
You
so
know
this
what?
guy
Jordan
over here was
hauled 2 bulls out of that canyon. The
Well,
only person to ever haul 2 bulls out of that canyon that I know.
this is my dad. And you, I guess.
Me and your dad. That's right. You know what? If you're in a group of Charlie Zeigler, if it's just you and Charlie Zeigler in a group, you're in a good group.
It's true. I would agree with that. There's the
me and-
video. Can you see
me and
this?
Me and Charlie Zeigler, the only 2 people that I know that have hauled 2 bulls out of that canyon on our backs.
Well, some of us hauled only antlers out.
Yeah.
So
Antlers and a hide doesn't weigh much.
It was a heavy hide.
it was so heavy.
It was a heavy hide, man.
It was the heaviest hide ever.
It was a thick. I mean,
Thick hide.
yeah. I caped that thing all the way back to its butthole.
My dad caped that thing. Let's be honest.
That is true. I did not.
Do you ever think? Do you ever think? I think about this a lot, and it's kind of weird. But like, what? I mean, what would you guys have done, and then what would we have done this year if he wasn't there? Like, if we're on our own, we have to make another trip.
You understand that that's what I did the year prior. Like we didn't have Nico and we didn't have you.
Charlie there this year.
That's what I'm saying. Is like if my dad wasn't there either trip. Like, what are you guys doing? First off, you might not even found the bull, right?
We wouldn't have. Your dad found it with his nose. It was incredible. He was puffing the smoke up in the air and then directing. He's like, I know I smell it, so we're going to follow the wind. He got downwind of it and then followed it upwind. It was incredible. I've never seen anything like it. And I'm not even exaggerating. That is literally what he did. He was like, I smell the bull. And we followed your dad like a bloodhound.
Not hard to smell the bull when you're around Jordan.
Is that this year?
Hmm?
Is that this year?
Right here?
Yeah.
This video is, yeah. This is us arguing a little bit.
You cut your hair.
After I came back, so I was at work. I worked for the state. We had a pool vehicle that we took out in the field. It was a old beat up Chevy Impala. And long story short, I got pulled over with another coworker because I had this long hair and the shaggy beard. And he thought that I was a local Johnston City resident stealing catalytic converters. But it turns out that I knew the cop and didn't run from him, didn't do anything stupid. Just talked to him, said, hey, man, I know you. And he...
Is that how you keep from getting shot by the police? Just talk to him normally?
I have...
No, we're not going there.
You are a Johnson City resident. Like, he was correct in his assessment that you are a Johnson City resident, and that hair.
Actually, I mean, I got profiled as a catalytic converter stealer. So a week later, I cut my hair. This is the right decision.
Listen, I have long hair. It's not that long.
When has he had long hair?
5th grade.
Long hair, Jordan. That's right.
He just said, I have long hair. Let's see his long hair.
I did. Well, I just got a cut this weekend.
Well, remember, he looked like you could just hold him by his waist upside down and mop the floor with his head.
Yeah. I had long hair for a while. So a little bit back here. Can you see it, Alan? I just got a cut. It's hard to tell, but
is that what it's going to look like for the wedding?
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about that. You're getting ready to sign all of your hunting rights away. You're getting married here pretty soon.
You're incorrect on your assessment, sir. I am actually marrying into hunting, because that would be where the farm.
McKenna hunts.
What?
McKenna hunts.
I took her hunting.
You took it from her. You're not sharing it with her.
She sat in the blind. She ate gummy bear. I think her stats were an entire bag of gummy bears. She ate 3 of the Hostess Christmas tree cakes.
So hold on, let me ask you something. Why have you not let her shoot?
Well, because she doesn't. Well, for one, she doesn't have a hunting license, so that'd be illegal. Again, you're the outlaw here. I don't break the law.
I wish you guys could see the Snapchat videos.
She does not have a hunting license.
Yeah, he agrees.
She doesn't hunt.
Why don't you get her one? Why don't you take initiative and take your future wife hunting like I've done?
She shows no interest in it, Hunter. Why would I subject myself to that?
I don't know. I mean, if she shows no interest, that's a fair point, but we'll see what she says when she watches the first 5 minutes of this video and never sees this part of the clip. Alan, do you want to tell your military story, or is that a no?
No, that's a different. We need to.
You don't want to tell the country what's going wrong with this country?
I saw a meme on Twitter. Somebody had a pie they were taking to Thanksgiving dinner. It said unvaccinated and ready to talk politics on the top of it with icing.
Is that you?
I would love to see that the Montgomery.
Are we allowed to talk vaccines on here?
We just want to tell the nation that.
I think we need to wrap it up.
We're open. We're open to all different kinds.
Wrap her up. This is gonna come back to get me somehow.
Hey, this is the Clusterbuck Podcast. We talk about everything.
Podcast. So
I'm not afraid of anything here.
all right,
We've-
let's finish it up with a fun question.
Tequila.
Let's finish her up with a fun question.
All right.
Since it's the
Ask
deer
each one
camp
of us a question.
deer camp episode, let's finish with the deer camp question.
When is this the deer camp episode? It was the rifle
the deer
episode.
Well, that's deer camp. It's rifle season. It's deer season. You can only
How
hunt
about
with a
the
rifle.
the first annual rifle season question?
Sure, we'll call it that.
Okay.
What is your drink of choice at deer camp?
Twisted tea.
That was a
Oh,
quick response.
that
That's
was.
what I got in
Yeah,
the fridge.
right,
That's what I
true.
got last weekend.
I'm gonna
You know
guess
what?
yours is
You can't be upset if someone thinks
Been
you're out
drinking a lot of
stealing
Coors
catalytic
Banquet.
converters. If you got hair like that and you're drinking twisted teas,
sophisticated man.
It is.
I don't have the
He's
hair
got
like
a-
that anymore.
he's riding around in his truck drinking twisted teas in the middle of the night with hair, and he's upset that
Ask
people
me a
think he's
question,
stealing
Jordan.
catalytic converters. Alan, what's your
What are
favorite?
you drinking? A craft beer, Jordan?
I gotta go to Teddy's.
This is a Mexican lager. They're actually really good.
That is the most
All inclusive.
Colorado hippie
All
beer I've
inclusive.
ever seen in
Literally
my life.
Mexico. It's not even America.
I
It's
do
not
like a
even-
Dos Equis when I go to a Mexican restaurant.
That's basically what it is. It's a salt and lime lager. It's just like a beer with a little bit of lime.
What are the ballistics on that?
Is that a bottleneck?
4.7
Jordan instantly. There's no, you can't hunt with bottleneck rounds.
alcohol. Well, you can, but only little baby ones. Alan, what's your drink of choice?
For what?
Deer camp,
What am I
or in your
trying to
case,
Deer
in
camp.
your case, duck camp.
Is this you have to get up the next morning to hunt?
I'll probably go.
I
I'll
always do.
probably just go have some Kid Rock beers tonight. Maybe a little Bud Light. I usually drink one Budweiser and
That's one sponsor I don't want on this.
Little
Bud
Bud
Light.
Latte, little Bud Light. That's
Sure.
our local sponsor. That's our local beer, Bud Light.
Clydesdales were just in Marion. Did you guys go
Nice,
see them?
Yeah, Clydesdale.
Be all weekend, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
What are the ballistics?
How much?
How much energy
what
would
type
you
of
need?
Cartridge do we need to kill a Clydesdale?
Oh my god.
You need a lot.
Too far,
Ah.
too far.
That 30-06 would do it.
No, but for real, would the 350 Legend take it down at 100?
I think so.
Probably, but you
Hypothetically.
have to hit it right.
Maybe- is it illegal
You
to
have to
kill a
hit it
deer
right.
with a knife? Because every time
I don't think so.
walk underneath me,
I would pay you $1,000 for a video of you jumping down on one and trying to
I
take it down
think that you could set up in the tree across from me.
and
Or-
film the whole thing. I don't know that I'd want to. I would be
I'll
disgusted.
get in a
I couldn't do it.
climber. I'll get in a climber on the pinch point. You set up right across from me. We'll have a spike right underneath me. I'll jump 18 feet out of the tree, stab it. It's fine.
Is it Tim Wells? Is that the guy who used to like throw spears into like deer and stuff?
You know, I get a lot of
You
comments.
get an
on the
archery
YouTube
tag. You have
video.
to have a gun tag. Do they sell knife tags?
Okay, well, can we talk about that for a second?
I-
Why do we need a gun tag
Money.
during gun season if you're going to hunt with your bow and you already have an archery tag? Like, why is that just a money grab?
I think so. Yeah. Like
Yeah, I do too.
Essentially, your
one.
archery tag does not cover those days.
I know, but that is just I don't agree with it. I think it's just, the state we live in. Is it like that in other states? Do you know?
Well, I can tell you in
Colorado?
Illinois.
Bows during that.
Probably.
So Colorado, one of the big issues is you can muzzleloader hunt during the archery seasons. But what you'll find in most states is that you can't do both. In Illinois, you can archery hunt and you can firearm deer hunt. If you go to a state like Colorado, you can't archery hunt elk and then be like, and I'm also going to go for second rifle season. You have to pick which one you're going to do. So what it does is it forces people to then make the decision what they're going to hunt with. So what you'll find out there is people either exclusively rifle hunt or they exclusively archery hunt. They don't usually do both when it comes to the same species because they don't overlap. and you can't do both because of the way the tag system is set up. And if you're curious about how the tag system is set up in Colorado, you can get on our YouTube channel and watch our
those are
our tag videos about how to draw the best tags in Colorado.
Those are actually some of the more popular videos. They seem to help. We just got an email on that too. If you guys want to email us, you can do that at recruitcreative@outlook.com.
Here's how you know, if anyone's ever wondering how you know if a video has good information in it, if half of the comments are complaining, if half of the comments are residents complaining that you shouldn't be telling people that information, those are the videos you want to find. Because that's half. It's half of the comments is residents getting pissed off that we're telling people how to apply for good tags and which tags are good and which tags are bad. Nico, what's your beverage of choice at deer camp?
I'm a beer guy, you know. I just like them cold.
That's a good answer.
Just like some cold.
Just like some cold.
There's people.
I drank Natty for a long time. I kind of switched over to Coors Banquet lately.
Ooh.
Really been enjoying it.
Is that somebody told me that was Mount Wilson? Is that right? Is that what the mountain is? The mountain range that's in the Coors Light can? Do you know? I figure you know. You're a Colorado guy.
I've never heard of Mount Wilson, so I'm going to go with probably no. That's a quick Google.
Yeah, it is. This will be time for that.
This is going to be how we end it right here. Is what mountain range? Mountain range.
That's a good. We're getting ready to shut this thing down because I got to pee.
Oh,
was I right?
The classically rugged Wilson Peak.
Woo! I got one thing right.
It's a 14er.
Yeah,
and it's the
14. Did you?
It's the signature symbol for the San Juan Mountain Range.
How many 14ers did you take down in your time as a Colorado resident?
Zero. I did a 13. I did a 13.
You're not into those?
Utah. No, it sucks. Why would you do that? There's nothing at the top of those things, but other people. Girls with armpit hair. That's what's at the top of 14-foot mountains. Girls with armpit hair.
Is that why you moved back?
Yep. All right. Okay. And that's a good way to conclude. Can we conclude?
Jordan, what is your deer drink of choice?
Definitely Bud Light.
Well, I usually try to consume as many Coors Lights as I can.
He likes Bud Light after that one ad that came out last year.
I will drink Bud Light. Ever since Big Ben gave me the dilly. I love it.
It's Big Ben. Is that your boyfriend?
You need to get into that. Pittsburgh Steelers, they're back. Matt Canada's out. You don't need to get into it. I'll tell you what I do have at the house because it's duck season's coming up. Alan, do you drink Sweet Lucy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Sweet Lucy. That is what we always drank at deer camp because we deer camped with duck hunters out in Georgia.
Yeah, Jordan's a whiskey guy. I feel like he drinks a lot of whiskey.
Whiskey, no. I love tequila.
Definitely not.
Oh, I love tequila. I don't drink twisted tea.
We've had a little bit of tequila.
Too drunk on whiskey and goes to bed early.
Yeah. I get fucked up, pass out.
Yeah, what?
You just cussed. Don't say that again.
Didn't beat me. I didn't get beat.
Get what?
I don't have control of the board.
Get ready for it.
I'm ready.
I get fucked up. No, you missed it.
That's pretty good. You got it. That's pretty good. All right. Let's wrap this thing up. If you guys got any suggestions on who we should be bringing on this thing other than us, I mean, we're open to it. If you want to shoot us a message on any
Tyler Johnson.
Yeah, any social media. We've got people we want to interview. Yeah, that's a good one. We got local farmers. Alan's got ideas. Got some
prison guards.
Prison guards, carpenters. We've got you name it.
Engineers, farmers.
If anybody wants to come on, anybody wants to sponsor this show, just reach out to us on any social media. Get at us at recruitcreative@outlook.com. Check out our videos. Be sure to subscribe to our channel.
Gmail is it not Gmail?
Oh, we got two emails because we're so dysfunctional. It's just a clusterbuck over here. So, all right. I think that's gonna wrap up the first video. I hope you guys liked it. See ya. Wait, yeah, play that. What is that? I like it. Here, let me play the cut music. Is it playing? Yes.